When you forgive someone, you have to give up the right to be harmed because it destroys relationships, because it is bitterness, because holding on and not truly forgiving and truly letting go. How do you help someone to forgive? Because I think in many cases, someone could forgive, but their hurt and stuff needs to be worked through as well. This whole idea of like, how do you actually forgive? People take it too lightly.
And in turn, then keeps bringing the same thing up over and over again. So then they're reliving it. Granted, it is not the exact same scenario because every time you bring it up, it's not going to be remembered exactly how it was the last time. But they feel like if they can keep a hold on that, then it validates why they act the way that they do, their pain, their anger, whatever it is, their negative emotions, that it validates that they have a reason to feel those things and to let those things out on other people, especially the person that did it to them. And so I think it's important to start with why so many people have a hard time really like forgiving and forgetting.
If you have a debt, right? If you owe the bank some money, right? Let's say you owe some money on your car or whatever it is. And the bank's like, oh, we forgive your debt, which is an actual legal term, right? Then it's as if it never happened, right? You don't want later on for the bank to be like, hey, yeah, remember, that car payment that we were like, we forgive that debt? Well, if you want to give us some money, or like, yeah, you're such a bad person. And I was like they're not going to come after you for the debt anymore because it's forgiven. You're like, I don't got any money now. You forgave the debt. So that's the whole concept of forgiveness is that it's as if it never happened in the first place. And that's a hard concept for people to understand, especially in relationships, especially when they've been hurt. But I think it's so critical to operate as if it's never happened. And I think where people get confused is they're like, well, I have to remember it, but you don't have to remember it. You can gain some understanding and you don't even have to be with a person, but you can still forgive, right? It's just like if I touch a hot stove, right? I don't have to remember, I don't have to go through my life being like, oh, don't touch hot stoves, right? John, don't fucking forget to not touch hot stoves. It burns, right? Like I don't have to remind myself every day. I know it. You can know a thing without reminding yourself, without remembering a thing, right? You can, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's the thing about it is like sometimes we're walking through our life and we think we've forgiven someone, but we're still holding on to the harms, right? And I've had this conversation with a lot of people, with a lot of men just in coaching, and we've had it with our daughter too, and had to say like, look, no. When you forgive someone, it means that you have to give up the right to be harmed. You have to say, that harm, I give it up 100%. And I think it's super, super important in relationships because it destroys relationships, because it is bitterness, because holding on and not truly forgiving and truly letting go, and there's a process, and we'll talk more about like, how do you help someone to forgive? Because I think in many cases, someone could forgive, but it still needs their hurt and stuff needs to be worked through as well. But I think that this whole idea of like, how do you actually forgive? People take it too lightly and they don't understand what it really, really means to truly forgive, to erase it as if it's never happened and not to count it against someone at all. And that's what the true forgiveness means.
Well, I feel like a lot of people don't do that because they don't want to give up the hurt. They feel like it validates their feelings. They feel like if something bad happens again, they want to be able to use that to be like, see, I told you this was going to happen again, or see, you already did this, and those sort of things. And so those emotions, and again, going back to the last episode as well too, it ties in, is the constantly thinking about it.
Right.
Ends up causing more emotional pain and turmoil, and in turn then keeps bringing the same thing up over and over again. So then they're reliving it. Granted, it is not the exact same scenario because every time you bring it up, it's not going to be remembered exactly how it was the last time. But they feel like if they can keep a hold on that, then it validates why they act the way that they do, their pain, their anger, whatever it is, their negative emotions that it validates that they have a reason to feel those things and to let those things out on other people, especially the person that did it to them. And so I think it's important to start with why so many people have a hard time really like forgiving and forgetting, is because they feel like if they forget it.
Yeah.
And like you said, sometimes people say they forgive, but they don't forget.
Right.
Is that if they forget it, then they don't have that evidence to support why they're doing what they're doing, why they feel the way that they feel. And I was this person as well too.
Yeah.
And when we went through a lot of things early on in our relationship, even at one point, my dad was like, you have to let this go. Like, once you deal with it, you have to let this go. Because he knew that I would hold on to stuff and like hold a grudge and, you know, things like that. And I'm not saying that if somebody harmed you that you should not still forgive and forget.
Right.
You can do that and then still not be around that person.
Right.
But that's like another layer that we'll get into, I'm sure, when we get to that point. But I've been the person that wants to hold on to the things because it justifies why I feel the way I feel, or why I'm still holding on to this trauma, or why I'm still, you know, keeping that inside so that in case it happened again, you know, I would know, or I would, you know, be able to use that to back up my point of view. When, like you said, even if you forgive and forget, it's not like that thing goes away. It's almost better to say forgive and let go. Because you can't force your brain. It's kind of like, don't think about an elephant right now. You know, like that thing is still there. It still happened to you. It's still part of like your memories.
Right.
And I feel like when you say forget, people might feel bad if they do think about it.
Right.
But it's more of letting it go and not allowing it to pop up in your head and stew and cause the negative emotions again.
Right.
Or like to be used against somebody and things like that. And the thing that people hold on to is so that they can use it against somebody, or use it to validate the things that they're doing in response to that thing.
And the way that you can test this is that if you're still holding on to the right to be hurt or harm, is that if someone asks you, have you been harmed? And you still say yes. When you've truly forgiven and forgotten, or in this case, I do agree with you, let go, but I use the word forget because people say, I'll forgive, but I won't forget.
Right.
But you're letting go of you're no longer saying I've been harmed. When someone says, did this person harm you? If you've forgiven them truly, you say, no, they didn't harm me. There's nothing that they have done to me. It hurts to say those words when you've been hurt because you haven't forgiven. But when you truly do forgive, then those words don't hurt anymore, because there's no need to count the harm or to measure it, or you don't even see it as a harm anymore, right? And that's the thing that is tough for people to do, because we've all been there. It's not just you. And you know, to be frankly honest, like it came to a point where we're in our relationship where at some point, because I did do wrong things, right? That were, you know, but where it was. Came to a point where I had to even be like, look, if you can't forget this, if you can't let go of this, like, I love you, I want to be with you, but we can't move past this. We can't move past the relationship. And it was a fork in the road for the relationship. And I'm thankful that you made that choice that day. But I got to a point where I was like, you know, like me mentally, I don't even think we even really talked about it too much after that. But I was like, I really want Nicole, and I really want this life, and I really want to, you know, I love her more than anything in the whole world, but I also know that if this cannot be let go of, that we cannot succeed, we cannot grow. And so I had, like, at that moment, I was like, I have to put it to the choice of like, of this or that, you know, if we're going to have this future or not.
And the only reason that in that moment I agreed and did let it go is because you finally did do it the right way. Because in the beginning, you didn't do it the right way.
Right. I didn't.
You did not validate the things that you've done. You told me to just get over it, which that's not a way to get somebody to do that.
Exactly.
But by the time that you had that conversation with me and you said what you said,
Yeah.
I realized within myself that you're right.